Jimmy Moore is one of the best all-around talents in Aggie basketball history. With nearly 1,200 career points and 650 career rebounds, he ranks 24th and 16th all-time in those categories. He spent 2 years with the Seattle SuperSonics and 10 more years playing professionally overseas. He is one of 16 Aggie greats named to the school's all-century team.
When I was a senior in high school, I was heavily recruited as one of the top players in this entire state of Mississippi. And I remember the very first connection or contact that I had with Utah State University was through Coach Dale Brown. You know, he came down to watch me. It was preseason, so he came down to watch us work out and kind of built that relationship from that point forward, you know. And so he as well as Coach Belknap probably made about 4 or 5 trips throughout my senior year down to watch me play and that kind of thing. So that was kind of the starting of my familiarity with Utah State University. The thing that really put Utah State over the top with me is that they were the only school that talked to me about academics. You know, they were the only school that talked to me about what do I want to do beyond basketball and after basketball, you know. So after my visit here at Utah State University, I went back home and my dad would always ask me, how was the visit? You know, and I would say, I'm not sure. But when he asked me how was my visit with Utah State, right off the bat, I say, that's where I'm going to school. My dad was a huge impact, you know, in my life, and the thing that he tried to instill not only in me, but in the rest of my family members. I came from a large family. We had 9 boys and 3 girls. And so there was a lot of teaching and stuff within the family and stuff. So my dad was a huge impact. And then as I was moving through my high school career, of course, my first high school coach his name was Coach Poe. Had a huge impact on my basketball career because really my goal was, I had already had my goal all planned out in my mind, and that was I wasn't going to play high school basketball until my sophomore year. You know, I was in the band, loved music, I was a drummer, you know, and that's where all of my focus was at the time. And I remember as an 8th grader, I was walking through the gymnasium one day and the coach stopped me and said, hey, when are you coming out for basketball? And I said, when I get a sophomore. He goes, why are you waiting so late? I said, well, I'm into music right now. And my high school coach at that time also coached football. So this guy was about 6'7", probably about 300 pounds, just a huge guy. And he told me, he said, no, you're going to be at practice this afternoon. So he intimidated me into playing basketball. Then another gentleman that really had a huge impact on me, his name was George Cecil McLeod. He was a state senator in the state of Mississippi. And he had a son my age that we went to high school together. And he was a huge influence on me. You know, I was very shy when I was in high school, and I remember him telling me, he goes, you know, through basketball, it's going to take you to a lot of different places in your life. And one thing that you need to really know how to do and learn how to do is, first of all, don't be so shy. Look people in the eyes when you're talking to them. So, you know, just those little things that really stick with me today that I try to instill in my boys, firm handshake, you know, and all those good advices that people pass on. So I wasn't a big guy. You know, I was a great leaper, quick. And so there are 2 things I try to implement in the rebounding, and that was getting to the opposite side of the rim where the ball was shot, because as coaches tell you, 80–90% of the rebound come off on the opposite side. I knew that, so I tried to work early and establish a position on the opposite side of the shot. And then secondly, just using my quickness, you know. And so those are things that I tried to implement and rebounding. And rebounding is really, you know, you see a lot of guys do a lot of drills on how to rebound, and that rebounding is really desire. It's the desire and determination of really wanting to go to the basketball. We had such a good team, you know, especially my senior year. You know, we had Rich Haas and Mark Tenhovey and all of these guys, Ray Lynn Thompson, and that list goes on. Darrell Owens, Mike Rock, Blair Reed, just a good solid team in all positions. So it was, you know, I think I averaged almost 20 points a game, 19 points something a game, you know. But at the same time, I think it was a situation where we were so balanced in our scoring, you know. And so it was one of those things where I had a good shooting percentage, but it was one of those kind of things where you didn't have to force shot because you had other guys on that team that could score as well. Incredible night, incredible night. It was one of those, you know, you hear people talking about being in the zone. That's exactly, I had the feeling of being in the zone that night. It was just one of those where you just knew when the ball came off your fingertip that it was in. It was just one of those nights where, you know, jump shots, you know, guys jumping, and I was just in the zone. That basket looked like it was looked like a swimming pool. It was so large, you know. It was just couldn't miss that night. I came back from Europe. I played in Europe for 10 years, and then I came back. I returned from Europe in '88, I believe it was '87, '88 season. And I joined Coach Rod Tueller's staff. He was the head coach here then. So myself and Kohn Smith was his two assistants. And so I stayed on with Rod Tueller and then with Kohn Smith. So I was assistant coach here for 5 years. Special feeling, you know. It really makes you humble. It really makes you appreciate all of the great people that you met as a player in your career here. But to come back and to try to continue to build on that tradition and legacy at Utah State was very special. So it was a great experience for me. The Hall of Fame is something that, you know, it goes to the individual, but I think a lot of guys would say it's something that you wish you can just take a piece and give to all of your teammates, because it's something that you probably on your own, especially in a team sport, something that you probably never reach on your own without the help of others, coaches, teammates, and all kind of things. So I'm just honored to have this, you know, this opportunity to be into the Utah State Basketball Hall of Fame.